Hello, and welcome to the KCSA Mental Health Virtual Investor Conference. My name is Allison Sauce, and on behalf of KCSA Strategic Communications, as well as our co-host, the OTC Markets Group, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Numinus Wellness. Before I introduce our speaker, please note you can submit your questions for the presenter in the question box to the left of the slides. Additionally, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Peyton Nyquist, CEO and founder of Numinus Wellness, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol NUMIF and on the TSX under the symbol NUMI. Welcome, Peyton.
Hey, Allison. Thanks so much for having us, and thanks everybody for joining today. Today, I'll briefly run through an overview of the company, as well as review some of the highlights from the last quarter, and give a little bit of a sense of where we're moving into 2023. Encourage everybody to read the forward-looking statements. So Numinus was founded about 5 years ago, really to try and solve the challenge that we have at the moment of moving psychedelic-assisted therapies into the mainstream in a way that is scalable, accessible, and most importantly, effective for clients. We believe ourselves to be a leading integrated mental health company offering a wide range of mental wellness services, including ketamine and psychedelic-assisted psychotherapies. Just a few points in around how we've created that business. Really, two complementary business lines of wellness clinics and research capabilities, which I'll get into in more detail. A couple of highlights in particular from the last quarter, 4.2 million in revenue during Q4 of 2020 with 1.3 million of gross profit, 464% revenue growth during Q4 2022 compared to the prior quarter, and a 31.5% gross margin, with a very strong balance sheet of $33 million of cash on hand, and long-established partnerships with a number of leading research organizations within the psychedelic space, in particular MAPS, who most people know are really the reason why psychedelics are having this reemergence and supported through clinical trials as they're bringing MDMA through the clinical trial pathway. So a little bit more on the business model. We really have approached this massive addressable need in regards to need for new mental health treatments. And we do that twofold. One is our wellness clinics. We have 12 wellness clinics across Canada, as well as in the United States, where we do a host of just traditional mental health services, all the way to ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, where I think in particular to note the recent acquisition of Novamind and Cedar Psychiatry, who's actually been working with ketamine-assisted psychotherapy for almost 13 years now and has really established himself as kind of the gold standard in regards to ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, but also the supportive mental health practices that need to be integrated with ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, and even more so as we move to MDMA and psilocybin, to really support clients on their mental health and wellness journey. These therapies are extremely powerful and effective, but really only as effective as people continue to integrate these experiences. And we believe that more holistic mental health platform supports clients to get the best results from their therapies possible, and also makes a much more scalable and supportive business model. The other side of the business is our research capabilities, where we have 4 clinical trial research sites, where we're the hosts for a number of different clinical trials, including some of the MAPS work with MDMA, LSD work with MindMed, and a number of psilocybin trials, kind of headlined by some of the work that we do with USONA. And what this does is it allows us to generate revenue and show a path to a very lucrative business model, but also allows us to kind of get a look around the corner in regards to where the research is going and what these research trials are showing us in what we need to create in clinic. And so it's a really unique opportunity for us to also engage with a number of these different drug development companies who are going to need a service platform to distribute their drugs and therapies once they are approved. And this really makes us kind of the service provider of choice for a number of those different organizations. And I think that's really highlighted by our partnership with MAPS, where we're training a number of the therapists in the MAPS protocol. And we've allowed for or been able to get MDMA into our clinic and get the clinic backend platform really comfortable with the MDMA protocol. Finally, Numinus Bioscience, which is our Health Canada licensed laboratory and production facility that's been licensed by Health Canada to not only do analytical testing, but also importation, distribution, and production of pretty much all the known psychedelic compounds. And that license was amended a number of years ago to allow us to harvest, cultivate, and extract psilocybin from naturally occurring psilocybin-containing fungi. We grew from what we can tell the first legal psilocybin mushrooms since the 70s. And we've been developing products that will be able to be used in clinical trials, highlighted by the most recent application of using our tea for an experiential training. And the hope is that obviously once psilocybin becomes more available, there'll be products that we'll be able to create to be used in clinical practice. Don't really need to spend too much time here. I'm sure everybody who's on the call knows we have a massive growing addressable need in regards to mental health services. Really doesn't matter which indication you look at, whether it's anxiety, depression, suicidality, substance use disorder. We're not doing a good job of treating these indications, and the numbers continue to climb, unfortunately. There's also been no significant innovation in mental health care in almost 40 years. And we believe that the time is absolutely imperative that these new therapies become available. Talking just a little bit about psychedelics and what some of the research has shown, as again, most people know, psilocybin has shown to relieve major depression with 4 times the efficacy of traditional antidepressants. The work that MAPS is doing with MDMA for post-traumatic stress disorder has shown some significant clinical impact and potential annual savings of the millions of dollars. Just to highlight, the results from MAPS phase 3A clinical trials showed over 80% of participants saw a significant clinical reduction in their symptoms, and 67% actually no longer met the PTSD criteria after just 3 treatments. And those are results that were taken 12 months after the therapy were done. So it's showing lasting and sustainable change. Really can't underemphasize just how extraordinary those results are. And we're very fortunate to be able to be working with MAPS as a partner. Finally, ketamine, to be effective for depression as well as alcohol and heroin dependent individuals as well. So as I mentioned, really we see ourselves as being an end-to-end mental health service provider, and we feel that this is extremely necessary for people looking to do psychedelic therapy as well. A lot of the services listed on this slide are really supportive practices to help ensure success for people doing psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, but also allows us to touch a lot of clients who aren't interested in psychedelics and potentially won't be. But it really just keeps us as active as possible in helping people with their mental health challenges. We've seen significant growth in pretty much all of the categories here. And just as a final point, talking about insurance coverage, the Cedar Psychiatry Group that was acquired through the Novamind transaction has done to date about $50 million worth of Spravato treatments, which are all covered under insurance, which we believe makes us probably the largest provider of Spravato treatments, which is a ketamine product that is covered under insurance. Just quickly here showing where the clinics are and how we've grown. One of the things that we do look to continue to replicate, where we believe Novamind was very smart, was instead of spreading themselves too thin geographically in the United States, really focusing on market penetration in a certain state before growing to the next state. And that allows that growth to be consolidating of resources in regards to marketing, operational infrastructure, so that you've got good market penetration in a state and then being able to move to the next state and replicating that. And that's what we look to continue to do as we grow. Really just here highlighting the growth strategy. We've continued to grow quarter over quarter and very, very proud of this growth. We do look to continue to grow either through organic growth or acquisition as we move into the new year. But also with the platform that we have right now, huge opportunity to grow revenue and services within that infrastructure that we do have. And I think this just shows the trajectory that the company has been on and our ability to continue to execute. Some financial highlights here. Obviously, the Novamind transaction was a really transformational one for us. I think obviously the ones to highlight as we look forward into 2023, about an annualized revenue run rate of $16.7 million based off of the Q4 performance, with $5.2 million of annualized gross profit. We're very, very proud of this growth and the sustainable model that we've been able to create, which really, we believe, puts us in a class of our own in regards to mental health companies that are interested in psychedelics or focused at the heart, or with psychedelics at the heart of their focus. So just a couple of updates on the clinics. We've recently launched our ketamine for chronic and serious medical illness program, really just continuing to show expertise in using ketamine to treat a host of different indications. And this, as we expand our indications, this gives us the opportunity to really understand, as we look at other psychedelic compounds as they become available, how to really specialize based off of indication and start to grow that client set as well. Now providing client financing options as well to increase accessibility, and finally the launch of a pilot program for corporate CAP in Utah, CAP being ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, where companies can offer ketamine-assisted psychotherapy treatments to employees as a part of their broader healthcare plan. I think this is a really important thing to highlight. While there's a lot of focus on insurance provider support in the United States, about 70% of mental health reimbursement comes from corporate plans. And that's something we definitely look to continue to grow as we expand into the United States. Just some operational metrics, over 17,000 client appointments during Q4 2022. 12.5% of the appointments were from new clients, so we continue to see new client growth, and 1,568 TMS appointments completed. The number of practitioners grew 18% from the time of Novamind being acquired. And I think that really just shows that while we have grown through acquisition, that the existing infrastructure that we have continues to grow as well. And we've taken a very thoughtful approach also to our SAP applications for clients, which continues to appropriately manage client expectations, but also brings a really great reputation with Health Canada as we're starting to see more and more applications being approved. So just some of the research updates, starting with the Cedar Clinical Trial Research Site, continuing to serve the needs of a number of our different clients and academic institutions. We have 2 clinical trial research sites in Utah. Research capabilities includes phase 1 through 4 clinical trials focused on psychedelics and mental health, and a specialized clinical trial design, patient recruitment and screening, enrollment, and patient management and data collection. We have currently 15 clinical trials underway that are managed, or 15 clinical trials that were managed by Cedar Clinical Research during fiscal Q4 2022. A few highlights at Numinus Bioscience: recently developed a new psilocybin tea called Infinity, named as a licensed psilocybin supplier by Health Canada for Canada's Special Access Drug Program, received approval from Health Canada to study ayahuasca and San Pedro, expanding the breadth of our Health Canada licensing controlled substances. So here, just really outlining the CRO capabilities and some of the partners, as I mentioned: MAPS, MindMed, USONA, University of Utah, all the way to larger companies like Merck, where we do a host of services for them. And again, all of these partnerships are revenue generating for us. So we see this as a really unique and potentially very lucrative business model for us that again allows the clinical infrastructure to engage with all of these different partners and be prepared for when drugs are approved. Quickly here, and I've already touched on a couple of these numbers, but obviously a big thing to highlight as well: $33 million of cash on hand. We continue to really bring down the burn rate dramatically, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow within the existing infrastructure that we have. And as we've continued to show with increased gross margins as well as the increase in revenue, that we believe that as we move into 2023, continuing to make these numbers more and more impressive and grow the business model without needing to go to market for cash. So just to highlight some of the accomplishments in 2022, we acquired NCT, the Neurology Center of Toronto, expanding into Toronto and growing services, including neurological care. Expanded our ketamine-assisted therapy services throughout the Canadian Clinic Network, uplisted to the Toronto Stock Exchange, and qualified for the OTCQX. Completed the transformational acquisition of Novamind in June of 2022. And we've recently launched our new brand, which will unify all the businesses and help drive brand awareness. Some of the big catalysts we see for not only the sector, but Numinus as well. Colorado recently voting to allow psychedelic-assisted therapy healing centers, primarily focused around psilocybin in the beginning, but then moving to other psychedelic compounds. Alberta, Canada, recently proposed regulatory changes that would oversee and allow psychedelic-assisted therapies. And you've seen a number of US senators from Hawaii and New Jersey called on the National Institutes of Health and the FDA to conduct more research into the potential therapeutic use of psilocybin. So you continue to just see a huge amount of regulatory support. And I think that that's really been supported by work like MAPS, who the clinical trials just continue to show more and more impressive results. And we're very excited for MAPS, who will be posting their phase 3B results in Q1 of 2023, as well as we believe that they will be making their submission for the new drug application and to the FDA in the first half of 2023 as well. So MDMA really being around the corner, and MAPS anticipates hopefully that approval happening before the end of 2023. So we're very excited and very honored to be working with that partner. Talking about some of these strategic initiatives for Numinus, we continue to work towards a listing on a major US exchange and hope to complete that in the first half of 2023. Continuing to execute on our rebranding initiative to drive higher brand awareness, exploring service expansion opportunities to drive additional revenue streams, including digital programs, and evaluating growth opportunities for Cedar Clinical Research to deepen our sector relationships. Just quickly on the management team, we believe we've pulled in a lot of diverse experience to build not only expertise on the clinical side, but also operational. And really excited for Reed Robison and Paul Thielking, who have joined us from the Novamind acquisition and have been instrumental in continuing to grow and build a scalable platform that we believe coming into 2023 will be really the kind of foundational platform that will be able to grow at large scale. So just to highlight, with 12 wellness clinics across North America, $16.7 million of annualized revenue, complementary business divisions providing clinical trial management services and psychedelic research, and a very well-capitalized balance sheet, we believe Numinus is really a sector leader and well-positioned for growth going into 2023, which we believe is really going to be a transformational year for the psychedelic space with, hopefully the approval of the MDMA for post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as continuing to see significant regulatory changes, really highlighted and spearheaded by Oregon, who in January of next year will be allowing for the legal access of psilocybin-assisted therapy. So we're at a very, very unique time in a growing industry, at a time, frankly, where new mental health services are needed now more than ever before. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining the presentation, and I'll hop into some of the questions that we've got. So first question, are you targeting any specific regions for growth? Absolutely. As we're looking to grow in the United States and really continuing to replicate the model that Novamind had created that has proven to be very successful, there's a couple of states in particular that we're very interested in, primarily on the West Coast. We're keeping a very, very close eye on Oregon and Colorado, of course, as well. We're waiting for a little bit more clarity in regards to what regulation and what the tax structure is going to look like there. But those are states that are very interesting to us, as well as California, Texas, and where we believe, especially with MDMA coming online, where the most amount of interest in MDMA-assisted psychotherapy will be. Next question. Why did Dr. Evan Wood leave his role? Yeah, so just to clarify, Dr. Evan Wood is still very involved with the company. In order to join and get Numinus started, he actually took a leave of absence from the University of British Columbia to join Numinus over the past 2 years. People who have tenureship at university are allowed a 2-year leave of absence and then have to return back to the university. So he has returned to the university in a more full-time capacity, but is still highly engaged with Numinus and works very actively with us as an advisor on a weekly basis. But obviously his work with UBC and being a Tier 1 Health Canada research chair is extremely valuable to the organization as well. Couple more here. CCR's margins were really high in the most recent quarter. Is that a business you look to expand? Absolutely. CCR is a really unique opportunity for us. Again, not only from a margin perspective and a revenue generating perspective, but also from a partnership perspective as well. So we're really, really excited about the growth at CCR and definitely something we'll look to expand, which we can do within our existing infrastructure, but also looking at potential acquisitions that might be out there as well. Would you ever consider expanding beyond North America? Right now, really just focused on North America. We definitely see opportunities for collaboration and partnership with organizations that are outside of North America, but there's just so much room and need for growth within North America at the moment that's really where we're focused in regards to owned and operated locations. Given the recent changes to regulating psychedelic therapy in Alberta, is that a province you should expect to see us open clinics? Still waiting for a little bit of clarity out of Alberta, but definitely, keeping a very keen eye there. And with the work that we've done in Canada, we think we can expand very, very quickly into other provinces. So once we get a little more clarity in regards to what the final regulatory state will be, it's definitely a province that we do hope to expand into when we get a little bit more clarity. What steps are being taken to reduce burn rate? This has really been a very, very top priority for us, is obviously reducing burn rate significantly, as well as bringing up the margins and the path to profitability. And as I've talked about a couple of times now, there's a huge amount of opportunity for growth within the existing infrastructure that we have, while also reducing the burn rate at the same time. I should highlight from the last financials that the burn rate was a little higher as we were going through the acquisition and consolidation phase. But over the last quarter, and especially as we move forward, the focus has been on dramatically reducing the burn rate and extending out the cash runway as long as possible, as we keep a very keen eyesight on profitability. How would you address the purists that believe that some of these naturally existing medicines should not be commercialized? That's a good question. I think there's a lot of conversation about what the right path to regulation should be, whether that's through clinical trials or some of the decriminalization movement. I think both have a place. I think people should be able to have access to these different compounds. They've proven to be extremely safe. But also people should be able to get insurance reimbursement, and they should be able to get access to a level of standard of care that is hard to be insured when things are not regulated, or at least there's not a commercial, call it, infrastructure around it. And for therapists and people who do a huge amount of work supporting people looking to work with these different compounds, they also, should be able to be compensated in a way that is fair and supportive for them as well. I think that's our last question. So thanks. Oh, maybe one more here. You recently announced a clinical trial using psilocybin for practitioner training. What is the ultimate goal of that clinical trial? The largest bottleneck that we see in the psychedelic space, no question, is trained practitioners. And we need to be training a large number of practitioners. And the fact that we'll be able to do that with experiential training is extremely necessary. And so as we get prepared for moving through to approval of these different compounds, we have to make sure that there's practitioners there that are trained and know what the experience is like, so that day one we can ensure the highest potential outcomes for our clients, which has shown that really those outcomes are dictated by the therapeutic container and the training of the practitioner. So it's a huge opportunity for us, and the ability to also use our training to recruit practitioners is a huge opportunity for the company as well. Just two more here. You recently highlighted TMS on the last earnings call. Is that a service you look to expand further? Opportunity, we could, absolutely, we see TMS as a huge opportunity. We continue to see a lot of growth and interest in TMS. Obviously, the opportunity in the United States for that to be reimbursed by insurance providers just gives our clients more services that can be covered under insurance. And also something we believe is coupled very well with ketamine-assisted psychotherapy also. And you've seen universities like Stanford start to do quite a bit of research in regards to the intersection of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy supported by ongoing TMS treatments. Finally, how is the US listing process going? Touched on this a little bit earlier, but still something we continue to push very hard towards. Obviously, market has been challenging, but that really hasn't stifled our efforts to continue to move towards a more senior U.S. exchange, especially now with operations in the United States. It's more important now than ever to move into the United States and get on an exchange where we can really highlight the company itself. We might be able to sneak one more in. Do you think MDMA or psilocybin will be first and widely available? I think on a wide basis, MDMA will be the first one available as it's most advanced in the clinical trial path. Notwithstanding psilocybin being available in a couple other states, obviously with Oregon going through the change next year and then Colorado the year after, you might see on a state-by-state level psilocybin become available. But I think from a more broad spread adoption, MDMA will be the first one available. And MAPS has been doing that clinical trial work, not just in the United States, but also in Canada and in Europe, as well as Australia. We're actually some of the sites up in Canada as well. So I think from a broad spread adoption standpoint, MDMA will be the first. And again, very, very grateful to be collaborating with MAPS on that and the important work that they're doing. thank you everybody for the questions, and thank you to KCSA and the OTC for the opportunity to present. If people have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us.